There comes a point in the psychological confrontation between the authentic self and the false mask of the narcissist when strength becomes a threat. When you have transcended their manipulation, when your inner light is no longer dimmed by their projection, the narcissist no longer sees you as a source of admiration or control. They see you as a threat to their constructed identity. When you grow too strong for the narcissist, something shifts in the dynamic that they cannot tolerate, because your strength is not just about defiance. It is a revelation. In the presence of your emotional clarity, your calm detachment, your refusal to be baited, the narcissist begins to feel something they spend their entire life avoiding: exposure. Your strength threatens to pull the curtain back on their entire false self, that carefully constructed persona that requires constant external validation and blind submission from others. You no longer provide the fuel they once harvested from your confusion, your self-doubt, your need for approval. And because of this, they no longer see you as a participant in their drama, but as a dangerous observer who might tell the truth they fear the most. You become, in their eyes, a threat, not because you attack, but because you see. And what you see is everything they've tried to conceal: the fractures in their self-image, the lies in their performance, the hollow center around which they've built their world. The narcissist lives in a reality crafted from manipulation, perception, and illusion. Every relationship they maintain is part of a stage where they must be adored, feared, or envied. But when you awaken to your own inner power and remove yourself from that theater, you break the fourth wall of their illusion. You're no longer a character they can script. You become a reflection they cannot alter. And this reflection reveals the truth they dread more than anything else: that they are not in control. They cannot control how you feel. They cannot control what you see. They cannot control your choices. This loss of control is intolerable to them because their identity depends on it. Their false self is not sustained internally. It is built and maintained through the reactions of others. So when you no longer respond with fear, when you don't explain yourself, when you don't plead for understanding, you become the collapse of their myth. This is why narcissists fear strong people. Not because strong people confront them with aggression, but because they confront them with clarity. Your ability to remain centered when they provoke you, your refusal to believe their lies about your worth, your calm recognition of their games, all of these are acts of defiance not rooted in rebellion but in evolution. You are no longer who you were when they first latched onto you. You are no longer someone they can mold or manipulate. You are now someone who has reclaimed the narrative, someone who no longer asks why the narcissist behaves this way, but instead asks why you allowed yourself to endure it for so long. That question, turned inward instead of outward, marks the death of their power, and in that death, you become something they never imagined you could be: sovereign. They lose not just control over your behavior, but access to your emotions. They lose the ability to define you. They lose the privilege of your energy, and worst of all for them, they lose your silence as an accomplice. Because the stronger you get, the more their behavior becomes exposed simply by contrast. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to prove anything. Your presence begins to uncover the truth they worked so hard to bury. This is why they panic. This is why they lash out. Because your strength has become light, and light makes shadows visible without even trying to destroy them. The narcissist cannot survive in that light. They were never designed to live in the truth. They were only ever built to maintain the illusion. And when the illusion breaks, they are left naked in a reality they do not know how to inhabit, faced with a version of you they can no longer reach, no longer manipulate, and no longer contain. When all the earlier tools of the narcissist fail, when guilt no longer weakens you, when their flattery and charm no longer seduce you, when their silence no longer triggers panic, when triangulation only exposes their desperation, there remains one last weapon they reach for, the most corrosive and vicious of all: character assassination. This is the final dirty trick, the ultimate retaliation, used not in the spirit of defense but of destruction, because once you're too strong for their direct manipulation, they pivot from controlling your perception of reality to controlling how others perceive you. If they can no longer make you feel small, they will try to make others see you as monstrous. It is not enough for them to lose control over you. They need to punish you for evolving beyond their grasp. They need to make your freedom seem like betrayal, your truth seem like cruelty, and your boundaries seem like abuse. In this final act, the narcissist aims to sever your connection to the outer world, just as they failed to dominate your inner one. This is why the smear campaign becomes their favorite tool in the aftermath of losing control. It is covert, malicious, and often difficult to trace directly back to them. They work behind closed doors, planting doubts in the minds of others, subtly twisting stories, sprinkling in half-truths laced with emotional poison. They might play the victim, carefully omitting what they've done to provoke your withdrawal, painting your strength as selfishness, your healing as instability, your silence as aggression. They rely on the fact that most people are drawn to a good story and may not question the source if it is delivered with the right emotion. The narcissist performs this tactic with practiced skill because it serves two purposes at once. It allows them to reclaim the admiration of others while simultaneously damaging the reputation of the one who saw through them. It's a desperate attempt to maintain the illusion of their virtue by casting you as the villain in a narrative that was always rooted in their fear of being revealed. But make no mistake, this behavior is not evidence of strength. It is the behavior of someone who is losing control and who knows it. The narcissist uses character assassination not because you are wrong, but because you are right, and they can no longer convince you otherwise. They strike at your identity from the outside because your inner clarity has become untouchable. Their lies are their admission of defeat disguised as concern. Their stories an attempt to rewrite a past that no longer serves them. And often they will even mimic your language of healing, using your own growth and terminology against you. They'll claim they were the one being emotionally abused, that they had to walk away from your toxicity, that they finally stood up for themselves. This is projection at its most strategic and insidious, designed to confuse others and isolate you, all while appearing reasonable and calm. What makes this tactic so devastating is that it often works in the short term. People you trusted may suddenly become distant. Others may begin to question your side of the story. Some may confront you with concerns that are rooted in fabrications you never imagined would be spoken aloud. And yet, despite all this, the most powerful thing you can do is stay grounded in the truth. Resist the urge to explain, to defend, to beg others to see the full picture. Those who know your heart will feel the misalignment. Those who are meant to see the truth will. The narcissist strategy is always time-sensitive. It relies on the immediacy of emotion, the confusion of the moment, the chaos of reaction. But over time, as your actions remain aligned with truth, their story begins to fray. Their mask slips, the lies lose traction. And the people who matter will come to see who really stood in integrity when everything around them screamed distortion, drama, and deception. The narcissist survives on emotional chaos, thrives on reactions, and feeds off the intensity of your pain, confusion, and efforts to explain yourself. Every time you raise your voice to defend your name, every time you cry out in desperation for clarity, they feel a sense of control returning to them because you are still emotionally entangled, still responding, still trying to fix or make sense of something they have already decided to destroy. But the moment you step out of that loop and realize that not responding is more powerful than arguing, the game begins to collapse. Your silence becomes a wall they can't penetrate. Your stability becomes a mirror they can't stand to look into. When you refuse to participate in their narrative, you take away the only thing they ever really wanted from you: emotional access. They don't need your truth, they need your reaction, and when you stop giving it, it is the beginning of the end for them. Not for you. It is not loud anger that defeats a narcissist. It is the quiet certainty of someone who no longer needs to be heard by them. They expect you to fall apart, to become defensive, to cry and plead and expose your wounds so they can use them again. They are prepared for rage and drama. What they are never prepared for is stillness. When you remain grounded, calm, and composed, even in the face of their most calculated provocations, you do something revolutionary. You deny them the chaos they need to feel relevant. Your emotional restraint becomes the most deafening rejection of their existence. It tells them they no longer have the power to disrupt your peace, which is something they cannot tolerate because it reminds them of how little they truly are without control. Their final tactic, which we know is often character assassination, only works if it can lure you back into the drama. But when you remain silent, let the storm pass without jumping into it, and continue building your life with integrity and grace, something extraordinary happens. People begin to notice the contrast between your behavior and theirs. Over time, lies decay and truth reveals itself without the need to shout. Those who are quick to believe the narcissist may begin to question. Those who are unsure may come back quietly seeking your side. And those who never bought into the lies will respect you even more deeply for how you carried yourself through the fire without letting the flames define you. The narcissist, on the other hand, becomes louder, more desperate, more obvious. Their story changes too many times. Their anger grows while yours diminishes. They dig their own grave in the social world while you continue to plant seeds in silence that will bloom into something unshakable. Your peace becomes your protest. Your refusal to engage becomes your power. Your detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the deep and sacred knowing that some battles are not worth fighting because the moment you participate, you validate the illusion they have created. Narcissists are not just afraid of your voice, they are terrified of your absence. They don't know how to exist in a space where they are no longer the center, where their words don't echo back, where their manipulation falls into silence and dies there. That silence is where your freedom lives, and that stability, that unshakable foundation you've built from within, is the most powerful act of defiance you can ever offer. So you continue, you rise, you evolve. You create joy from places they try to make desolate. You connect with people who see you clearly and love you as you are, not as they were told you were. And slowly, without lifting a single weapon or saying a single word, you dismantle the empire of lies they built. You become living proof that healing is not loud, that strength is not reaction, and that true power is not about domination. It is about liberation from all that sought to control, define, or diminish you. Let them scream into the void. Let them poison the air they breathe. You have outgrown the need for their validation. You have faced the dragon in its lair and emerged not just unburned, but reborn. And that, in the end, is the one thing a narcissist cannot survive: your transformation.